Had a conversation today with a friend. We're discussing politics, and um, the conversation started uh, before I called him. I was watching an interview with RFK Jr. Um, and I think I had finished watching it, and I called this friend, and he's like, "Hey, how's it going?" And I started telling him that I'm, you know, thinking about what my choices are going to be in the 2024 election. I think I basically started out by saying, like, there's a lot going on in the world, and I'm like really investigating it at a deeper level than before, and I'm kind of overwhelmed. And I mentioned RFK and how I had been listening to a lot of his stuff, and how his worldview kind of flies in the face of what my worldview has been up until now. But his worldview, I think, is more researched than mine. Um, and I was kind of like just starting to share, just my kind of, I guess, wonder a little bit, and just the fact that I'm, engaged in this inquisitive um, discovery or search. And he kind of cut me off, and he basically said, "Yeah, that guy's a Yahoo. Don't waste your time with him. And any vote for him is, a vote for, he has very definite political views, and I won't say which way he leans, Republican or Democrat, but he said a vote for that guy is basically a vote against, this other guy who is his, favorite." And we ended up having a long, like a 45-minute conversation. That was just the start of the conversation, but it was kind of eye-opening because I realized, and this is a person that I think is educated. He's definitely like into political things. I view him as open-minded. He's a friend of mine. I mean, he likes me. So, but nonetheless, despite all those things, he had this hard reaction. And it was like a little jarring to me. I was like, oh, wow. And it was just a reminder, like how hard it truly is to be open-minded, because most people, even the most open-minded ones, do have biases, have definite opinions, and sometimes have strong reactions when you don't necessarily agree with their opinions, or are exploring other options. And I'm in a place right now where I very much am exploring all options, and I'm kind of, I've had certain opinions for a long time that I'm not holding on to quite as strongly anymore. I might come back to those opinions, but I've just temporarily kind of like let go of all of that, and I'm truly in this kind of discovery phase where things are shifting a little bit. I think my paradigms are shifting, and they haven't settled, and I'm not sure where they're going to settle or whether they're going to settle, but it's a little unsettling because, like, I'm not really sure of anything. It's like, what is true? All this stuff, there's certain certain things that I've viewed as true for a long time, that now I'm listening to certain experts or supposed experts who basically say the opposite is true. Okay, well, and they sound very convincing. So, I'm also aware that it's not just about listening to other people, it's about doing, your own research, which to some extent listening to other people is doing research. That's to me, that's like the first layer. I'm listening to these long conversations, hour and a half interviews, people talking about, political topics, various topics. And that's like the first layer or one layer of research. And then there's doing reading myself. But, even doing reading, somebody writes those books or somebody writes those studies. That person or that agency that writes those things, they have opinions too, right? Like there's a tilt on everything. So it's hard to get down to the true fact of what exactly happened. So I'm kind of in this phase where everything's kind of up in the air. I feel like I'm, an astronaut who's like on the International Space Station, and I kind of let go of the side of the space station and I'm just floating in space a little bit, or like one of those, I don't know, still frame photographs where like, you're like sitting maybe at a kitchen table and like everything just gets tossed up in the air and is suspended in midair, like plates and food and everything. And, it kind of is at the peak of its rise, but it hasn't started to fall yet. And it's going to fall, but you don't know where it's going to fall. And nothing's attached to anything. I feel like I'm in that moment. And so it'll be interesting to see where things start to land or whether they start to land. But also just, a reminder that like when you're truly open and exploratory and when you're, I think, committed to being a centrist, like myself, like I think I am, it's hard sometimes to find compatriots. People like to take sides, and people feel strongly about those sides.